stream. The problem is it won't tell me when it starts, but so we'll just assume at this point that it started.
Okay.
So I guess we'll just start with the premise that we always start on. The premise that you and I have in our relationship together is one where we're focused on awakening to the greatest extent that we're willing to for ourselves, and to expect the other person to do that at the same time. So we're here supporting each other's opening and awakening, and to that I'll just ask you, is there anything that you've been contemplating that has your attention stuck, that you can't let go of right now?
Well, there's a number of things. There's like the crises of the turbulence in the nation, I think, and then also, what exactly do you mean by that when you say?
Well, as man and as humans, the what's going on in our country, in our society, as a shift in the consciousness of the collective. The what seems like troubling fits and starts, or just simply the unconsciousness that's available to be dissipated, comes up and slaps us in the face a little bit and says we need to pay attention to this right now until we all feel better about it. So as a group, that's what's happening right now. Some people desperately want to talk about it, and some people desperately, kind of don't care. And so what's happening is everybody's being forced to pay attention and to consider to what degree this problem that is accepted as a problem by almost everybody, to what degree are we going to leave that unresolved and undealt with, so that our future is the same as our present, maybe a little better, but we're looking for an opportunity actually to make some quick and fundamental shifts, some quantum steps in progression, and everybody as a society, on both sides, on all sides, wants that. But the perception of everything that's wrong with the world makes you want to go out and deal with that yourself in person and prove that your point of view is the right one, and that the ones that aren't doing it quite right is the wrong one. And so, but if you set out to do that, you're focused on a temporary problem that's already going to be solved, whether you do anything or not. So, if you have the ability to access a higher state of being, a higher consciousness, higher concepts, freer expressions of yourself, and which you do, then, who did what to who is going to work itself out. There's a lot of people really interested in that, and that doesn't require your attention too, because it's already got the intention of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to resolve. So the question is how can you assist that resolving in such a way that everybody's happy with the result, the new paradigm shift? What did we shift to that made everybody go, oh, thank you. Thank you. Finally, everybody understands and everybody agrees that it's important here that we honor each other, that we support each other, that we notice each other, that we have compassion for everyone, no matter who they are. And as we open into knowing that that's what we wish for ourselves, then we can notice that that's the same thing that's driving everybody else too. Everybody wants a shift for the better.
Yes, there's an intense yearning, even willingness to risk against coronavirus to make that statement.
Sure. So the interesting thing is, how does that wish come true for everybody on all sides, where everybody feels validated, where everybody feels heard, where everybody feels compassion from their opponent? How about looking at your opponent and saying, I know that there's people who love you and support you, and I know that you're sincere in your point of view, and I know that your point of view says mine is wrong, and my point of view is saying yours is wrong, but there's a way for us to move through this so that we're both happy. I don't know what that is. You don't know what it is, but can we open into a willingness to experience? Can we open into a willingness to experience the realization of the other into a freer truth for himself? And if we can wish that for those on the other side of the equation, that they self-realize, that they awaken, that they enlighten, that they find their pathway to freedom and walk it and realize it and become it. And then at that point, as you do the same for yourself, then we make a shift together. Each one of us choosing for themselves and letting the other make the same choice that you're making for yourself. You don't choose for the best for yourself and not for anybody, and say no to everybody else having that when it doesn't, where it enriches you, it enriches your life for everybody around you to be awakened, to be realized. So, isn't that how a divine expression would order his reality? He'd awaken, and everybody around him would awaken, or they would leave. But a movement of self-awareness, a movement of light and compassion, and a movement of darkness in whatever way it still exists, but it's open and it's flowing and it's willing to be free. And in that willingness to be free, it's willing to be changed. And in that willingness to be changed, that's where grace can begin to be the factor that actually moves you. And when you move in that grace, it inclines you towards the truth that sets you free. So look at it, feel it, notice the divine grace that surrounds you. And open your protection, open your barriers and shields. Let them fall away and allow the divine to permeate you in every way. Allow the divine to know everything that ever happened to you. And as you can feel those experiences that you resist and react to and feel like they were traumas and problems and losses, you can go right back there, notice where you're stuck. Then you can notice the divine there. And as you notice the divine in your most uncomfortable state of consciousness, you realize that you're experiencing a transformation of yourself, of your experience, of your identity. And you just let it happen because you don't know what else to do. But you know that the more that the identity that you've had here is freed from confusions, freed from ideas, freed from beliefs, free from every coping mechanism, then you can begin to be present here. You can begin to be free as yourself. Your embodied consciousness, takes a quantum expansion in its self-awareness. So notice that. Just observe that happen. Just look at it and say, well, he's right. I can see the shift moving through me, through my experience of myself. So the various layers and levels of identity and consciousness that I carry here to orient me, into some low-level consciousness. So just notice all of that. Then notice all of that structure isn't necessary anymore. All of that programming for, if this happens, then you do this. You don't need those automaticities anymore. You're able to open to enough knowing, enough realization, enough freedom that you're awakening enough to move here appropriately, comfortably. And that's something I could really use because I feel so confused about who I am and what I should be doing. The different obligations and commitments that I have, they don't feel good. They don't feel good. So what do you do about that? What do I do? You have to, if you made a wrong choice, if you made a commitment to something that you want to be done with, then you have to fess up to that, to whoever is expecting something that's from you that's not going to happen. You have to say, guess what? There's something different now. And this is who I'm going to be and what I'm going to do now. So I'm not going to be less than that. I'm not going to fall back into a dependency, into a coping mechanism, or into a relationship that is mutually supporting in our wrongness. We don't want that. We don't want to be supported when we're wrong. We want to be condemned into a situation where we have to open and self-realize our truth again. You don't want to stay in hell forever. In fact, you only want to be there long enough to recognize that you took a big dip in your consciousness and you identified with something that stuck your attention here, and it's time to end that. Stop doing that. So just kind of take a moment and let that happen to you, if that's your choice. Whatever you were before doesn't control who and what you are now. You'll deal with whatever you have to deal with so that you can end off on things that you don't want to do anymore. But it doesn't have to be more than that. You don't have to be bound and tied in time, by obligations that you made when you were unconscious, before you awoke, before you were set free. Once you're set free, just make sure that, you end off on everybody's expectations for you, based upon who you used to be, before you opened, before you realized, before you became, something that pays attention to grace and flow. Knowing that for you, that's the answer. And if it's the answer for you, then it's really the answer for everyone else. Because anybody who hasn't tested their experience of the divine as part of their identity, they've got a long way to go in their awakening. So even if you did that in an unconscious way, you're still testing the experience of a divine awakening on your body. So it's made it easy for you to you don't resist the subject, and you don't resist the experience. So now that I think we're agreed on that, then let's allow there to be a shift that actually shifts our reality. Allow the experience that you've always expected to be somewhere out there in your future to be the experience that you're noticing is beginning to happen right now. Notice that opening, that awakening, that radiance, divine radiance is beginning to move through you, shaking things up on the inside. Because anything that's less than that consciousness is either waking up or somehow just not here anymore. So let the change happen. Let the divine be free in you. Don't order it around. Don't give it terms and conditions. Say, welcome. The temple of God is open. Come in. That's your painting. Welcome. The temple of God is open. Come in. You like that?
That's a real nice.
I'll do that.
Painting.
I'll do that painting for you, since my new decision is that I'm going to make my sessions going to take what comes out of the sessions that's meaningful, that should probably become a mantra for the person. But since nobody does those really, who has the time?
Yeah.
Even I cheat on that. So but since you know that that's a mantra, that's your mantra, that's your truth, if you put that in a place where you see it every day, and you walk by, it's an effortless meditation, because it puts your mind right back on the truth again. You see? So that's what I'm creating. That's the artwork that I'm sharing, is the inspiration that comes when you open to explore the potentials that you have. And I get to experience you doing that, which makes it easier for me to be me. Because when I find and experience somebody else willing to open divinely, then that reinforces and validates that reality, where I'm still at this point where I'm not experiencing that as myself, where I'm not expressing that to others as my truth. not in a pretense, not in a limited way, but in an actuality where if somebody truly opens and experiences me, they find the truth of eternity, because and the realization that they're the same. So if that's not happening, and it's not, then whatever has to transform and transcend from what is into what its possibilities are, then it's time for that to happen now. So as I described that for myself, I described it also for you. So let's take that moment and open and surrender and let go of everything that's less than divinely free within our identity, within our experience of ourselves. Okay? Feel it and let it go. Feel it, notice it, let it go. Feel it, notice it, give it a little gratitude, a little thank you. You're done, it's over, you're complete. On to your next beingness. Good luck. Let it go. Let it all go. There's nothing significant left. There's nothing left to do. You're transcending. You're moving into a divine embrace. What do you have to do that's more important than that? Nothing. Because when you experience that fully and completely, then you won't be the story anymore. You won't be the identity. You won't be the solidity of the ego. You'll be the freedom of the beingness of grace itself. So allow that to happen. Open and be free. Because it's the power of you making that choice. And the willingness to be changed for the potential of you to be the actuality. If you're so happy with yourself that you don't want to change, then not much change is going to happen. And I'm not saying that you should be dissatisfied, but you should just notice what your potential is and then decide whether or not you're going to open to experiencing that. And if you're open to experiencing that, then that experience of that potential kind of shatters who and what you were before that, and it falls away. Because when you realize your potential, it's like a whole different you, a whole new life. You're the you that you were before everything that you let go of was created to control you and guide you and form you and shape your identity. You're letting all of that input go. Everyone and everything that ever tried to define you and to get you to agree that they were right and you were wrong. Sorry, they were wrong. Every one of them. Including me. No one and nothing are you holding on to. This is an example of the truth. The direct experience is the only thing that's going to satisfy you. So go ahead. Experience the truth of you that makes the expression of you wise, benevolent, and free. Just always know that the body's the temple. The body has to open, has to choose to be open. has to choose to be governed by the divine. So take responsibility for the temple, and to whatever degree you're identified as your body, as your name, as your ego. Well, if it's yours, you better take responsibility. Take divine ownership of it. Take divine ownership of the body. Take divine ownership of the identity. Take divine ownership of the history. And finish your awakening and be free. Awaken and be free. Was that the second painting? I think it is. Awaken and be free. Don't just accept that as a mantra. Accept that from an order that when you're part of that order, your life is ordered, not by restrictions, but by freedom and grace. Freedom together with grace. What kind of actions does that have on reality? It inspires, creates a state of awe, and it doesn't oppose you. It's there to share something magnificent. So you first have to be willing to experience that for yourself. It's been such a difficult and long process for me, but here we are. Let's open and choose that, each for ourselves. Your responsibility is to wake up enough so that your followers, your people, put their faith in you, to put their faith in your future. It's important that you inspire them to wake up enough. They're not so worried about the significance of all of that. Because if you get stuck in the significance of who and what you are, and the importance of your role here, then it'll be pretty hard to play your role here if you're playing a raging ego at the same time. You know, how can you be guided by grace when you're guided by self-importance? You can't. So I have to get rid of all of my self-importance by truly opening into and allowing the divine to experience the temple, which is the body of me. The body that I say is mine, and my identity that is stuck in suffering and pain and identification with so much junk. If I'm going to experience the divine, then every place that I'm shut down I have to open up in. I have to open the doors and the windows and allow the sun to shine on me. Whatever that sun is, whatever that Son of God is, whatever the daughter of the divine grace and mercy is. As long as it's available to me, I'm all in. Yes, of course. Here I am. Here I am. Take me. Here I am. Take me. Okay, I think that's the third or fourth painting. Here I am. Take me. Fly free on the divine flow. There you go. There you go. Oh my goodness. Yeah, fly free, man. See how nice it is to open? Allow the flow just to move through you in whatever way it wants. That's when you know the truth is moving you. How you doing, by the way?
Absolutely amazing.
No.
In fact, it was astonishing that after I pointed out the first thing, I was going to say that since you were asking what has been, in a sense, an impediment, because you brought that up in the beginning, to opening and flowing and going with the flow, as you say, going to flow of one's own soul and contribution to the collective, you know. One of the impediments, particularly in light of the current situation, you come to terms with the fact that when one has an order and followers that have such sort of high hopes and such stories, and especially when, as you know, we're putting things together for the WME, Netflix, Amazon pitch, where maybe one is facing, you know, going through a lot of and compiling the older stories and what the expectation for the future is. Long and short of it is that when, you know, start to feel a certain burden of, well, yeah, these are,
okay.
How does one live up to their expectations?
Okay,
but
so
amazingly, that's precisely what you answered.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that some more, and let me address that in particular.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You're putting together a document, a white paper, that you're expecting to be defining of the future accomplishments and significance of your order and your business and your identity. Okay, you're doing the best that you can to put the best thing that you can imagine into that expression. What you are not putting enough attention to is that you just do that as quick as you can, because you know you're going to get beyond it so quickly and everything will change. Imagine what happens as you awaken to an experience of bliss as a continuous feeling within yourself. The predominant experience that you have is just bliss. Okay, so now what's important to you compared to what's important to you before? When you were stressed and when you were in pain, when you were traumatized, the future you could imagine was quite different from the future that you can imagine when you're already in bliss. You see? So in order for you to succeed in the best possible way, you have to continuously be open, be in a constant state of transmutation and transcendence in motion. You have to allow it to be okay that you're not holding on to the story. You're the movement that inspired the story. You don't have to play a role when you awaken. All you have to do is be yourself. Because you wouldn't be in the middle of that story unless you were the one that had inspired it. So take responsibility. And to whatever degree A divine being is supposed to be awakened in the body. The best that you can imagine for yourself right now, let yourself be changed by that experiencing becoming a real experience of you for yourself. You have to allow what you are, all of those significances, everything that's important to you to go if you want that experience for yourself. If you want what you say is true, but you're not experiencing yet, to be true, then you got to let go of your experience in the moment, because your experience in the moment isn't a divine one. And so we have to say, okay, to the divine we commune now. We've got nothing to say except help us, please. You know what we want. You know what we need. You know how we're configured. Let's not make this difficult on anybody. Let's awaken speedily, efficiently, beautifully, and effortlessly. How about that? How about an effortless awakening? Where we just experience everywhere that we're trapped and unconscious, and it just, dissipates and floats away in the most beautiful way. Where you go, oh my goodness, God bless you. And everything begins to freely transform like it does in a real reality, not a pretended solid one like this. Where the change of the creation is continuous. You know how that is. You don't want to stop here and play a role. You want to be something that's ever freely creating in each moment in so many different beautiful ways. You just go, oh my God. Oh my God. And that's not an identity. That's a beingness. So let that identity go. Let that identity go that's so attractive to your ego. That you're a special person. Well, you can't be a special person by being a special person, if you get my drift. You have to let go of the specialty, even though it is special. Even though if you do it, you're a pivot point, for so many where they become, responsible for their own beautiful and holy self-realization. Where the divine, where the embodiment of the divine is right there as an experience for all of humanity to have of themselves. So, host the party, if you will, but only as the truth that sets you free, only as the truth that sets everyone free. The embodiment of your divinity, not the story of it, not the plan of it, but the experiential free flow and knowing and beautiful expression of it. Yes, how do you do that? You just let it happen. You let it change you in any way that it must, for it to be easy and beautiful as your experience of yourself. You have to let go of everything else and allow it to reconfigure in response to the higher truth that you chose for yourself. So every lower truth has to reorient to that. And the lower truths don't know what the end result of that is, but if they're smart enough that if they know that you've taken a quantum leap, that their readjusting to that is going to be a good thing for themselves. So that's what you have to share with the people who look to you for their truth. They should see their truth when they look into your eyes. They should see in you, you knowing yourself truly. And then in their experiencing you in that state, they go, oh my goodness, here's somebody that's at home. I guess I can be at home as well. And they choose themselves into a free flow. Where they're no longer influenced by the collective unconsciousness in terms of who and what they are here. They're in the divine flow of free expression, free creation, in a compassionate, graceful way. Your expression doesn't come in as an attack or a battle or a judgment. It comes in a state of grace. And what that means is a movement of beauty, a movement that notices everything, appreciates everything, supports everything, loves everything, and in all of that inspires everything to choose to take a quantum leap itself into its freer, fuller, more open self-expression. So that's how a spiritual leader leads, by being the one that's willing to experience himself fully and truly, beyond ideas, beyond concepts, beyond belief, beyond words, beyond all limitations. Everything that you're identified with and as. You allow yourself to be free in all of it. There, see? Let your heart open more. Let all of that purge. There, the past you's free now. You feel that? And happy. And relieved. Because his best story came true. And his best story is the you that you are now. So accept the blessing of the past and the beautiful expectations that it has of you to complete your journey, your hero's journey of self-realization and an awakening that, is, how about glorious, a glorious awakening? Why not that for you? And me, I'll try it on for size 2. Let's see how we do. Go ahead. You have to be a word guy even to contemplate this, let alone try it. But why not? Everybody that takes drugs, says what's real afterwards, but then they stay themselves. They don't let that shift having actually made any difference in their life. So how about you? How about now being the shift that sort of puts you over the edge? It's so profound that you can't go back. Is that available for you right now? Is it?
Yes, it actually is.
Open and receive. There's your next painting. Open and receive. The answer to your wish that was there for you before you asked the question. It was always there. It was always for you. It was always available. You just had to want it. You just had to say, now's the time for that for me. Well, okay, what was your decision? It could have been before, it could have been later, but if you choose now, then you let it happen. It'll be a really, really, really interesting show that you have on Netflix. A reality show that's actually real, not scripted, not directed, not managed and produced, but something that's followed, that's observed, that's, it's a beautiful thing to experience somebody else realizing for themselves. So that's your show. Come on, man. Your show is divine awakening, not just for the demigods, but for all the clods, all the dogs, all the refuse that knows that there's no way they could ever deserve freedom, happiness, joy, laughter, and celebration. Them be exuberant? Come on. Come on. Well, if you open into and experience the truth, the exuberance is the least part of you. I mean, that's the beginning. Experience the exuberance of your awakening. Yeah, it's building like a forest fire, man. It's out of control. Everything about you is on fire. Let it burn. Let the creation of you burn. Because the part of you that's created you don't want anyway. Everything that's created is made from lies. Because all it is a story. So, don't do a show about a story. Do a show about the pathway to freedom and awakening and self-realization. Experienced by you, experienced by those that you're sharing this with. That's where your gift, and that's where you're deserving of that story is fulfilled. Because you don't deserve the story until it's true as your self-realization. And it's not that you need to deserve the story. Nobody deserves it. But just continue choosing to open and be transformed by the experience of divine grace. No more definition needed than that. Just allow divine grace into everything that you experience about yourself. Allow divine grace into everything that you experience of yourself. I guess that's the next painting. Okay, how are you doing now?
Doing absolutely wonderful, Thank you so much, Rocco.
Well, I'm not saying that we're done. I'm just wondering how you're cooking.
Oh, I'm cooking real good. I'm not saying we're done either. This is great. Oh.
Yeah,
like I said,
nothing's significant enough to hold on to within your identity and with your experience of yourself. The less that you hold on to, the more the freer that you become, and the more that you know yourself, truly.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so that moves some things in me. And is there anything else that I'm willing to do tonight to go further? I'd like for what we did to kind of resonate through everything that we are. To let there not be any aspect of ourselves that are in the dark, that are confused and lost. And allow the frequency, if there is one, but whatever it is that one experiences when they're awakened and in a state of awe and bliss and a beauty beyond description, whatever that is, open to that. Allow the consciousness of God to enter the temple of God. Feel that. That's another pretty good painting, probably. Allow the consciousness of God to enter the temple of God. Feel that. Hmm. Yeah, that feels lighter now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allow the consciousness of God to enter the temple of God, to permeate the temple of God, to know the temple of God, to experience every aspect of the temple of God. Allow the temple of God to move in harmony with the consciousness of God, to move in synchronicity. Hmm. So if you're watching this and you're bored with how long the silences are, this isn't for entertainment. This is for you to join in with us and have this experience for yourself, to allow that inner transformation to occur for you. This isn't entertainment. This is two guys as fearlessly as they can, diving into the darkness of the unknown to find our potential, to fulfill our being here, to complete our great work for ourselves and fulfill the destiny that we have here, if there were one. Not saying there is, I'm just saying that if our potential is something that we were destined to fulfill, we're good with that. We're good with that happening now. And so make that choice for yourself. Be good with your potential coming into your embodied consciousness, your body itself, and making its home there, and you being changed as a result. Allow the divine to be at home with you, and allow yourself to be at home with the divine, until the divine is known by you, and you are known by the divine, and both of you are in union with each other. To such an extent that you're fully awakened as brothers, and there's nothing significant about who did what or who was what, but you're home again. You went on a journey to Earth and you came back, and now you're free again, except you're still here, you're still embodied. So, now what can happen if you awaken here and stay here? Then there's a chance that the people around you awaken. And if you're awakened and the people around you are awakened, the people around them can be awakened. It spreads out like a ripple on a still pond from a stone you threw in. Then the Lady of the Lake, in her most beautiful future, comes out as a goddess of light and love and beauty and grace, and says, yes, it's real, it's you, it's true, and I'm here to share that with you. Allow the divine goddess of love and grace and beauty to dance with you in your dance of creation. Whenever she comes up, in whatever form she's in, when she says, yeah, I'm here, I know, I see. Let's take a walk, you and I, for a moment in time, and notice the divinity of the other. And in that noticing, in that movement of grace, something beautiful happened in the world, and the universe will know it. It's opened up to those experiences with the divine feminine. Allow the divine feminine to be awakened with you, to be validated, to be seen, to be cherished, to be loved and known. Expect it of every female, not in a demanding way or an egotistical way, but you just kind of look into her eyes and you know the truth of her more than she does. And you're just in your and everything that creates you is a presence. It's an invitation for her to awaken and flow freely and be true to herself, and a divine companion to you as you share a moment in time. That's how the divine would flow when you're awakened. To try to define that and program that, script that. No. You just film the experience of that, man. There's nobody that can script that. You film the experience and you express it as you're experiencing it. And everybody says, oh my God, who wrote that? God, of course, as he moves freely. Wherever she's welcomed to be the transformational cause of the glorification of you. God doesn't need anything other than your, oh my God, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's play. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Get ready. Things are going to shift. And say, okay, God, I'm ready. Go ahead. Shift. Yeah, go ahead, shift. Go ahead, shift. I guess that's another painting. Nice. Go ahead and shift already. Go ahead and shift. Continue to open. Continue to be willing to notice that radiance is what you are. Be radiant. And allow that radiance to be full within yourself, within your experience of yourself. So full that it radiates out from you so that I can feel it. The realization of radiant beingness is your mission, should you accept it. One more painting. I better find a place to paint. You got a place for me to paint?
Oh, wow, not at this particular moment. How was your search up in downtown, huh?
I didn't like downtown.
No, yeah.
I'm looking kind of on the west side. I found a tiny little place that I could afford, but it has no space. But you know that place where the spa is, where Dr. Sarah sometimes has her meetings, you know, in the border of Venice, and you know, kind of just south of Washington at the beach. The Creative Chakra Spa. Does that ring a bell? Oh, just a block from Alora's.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so at any rate, a block from the beach, you know, a little room with a huge balcony, $2,500 a month. And so, you know, when I get back down here, if I can't find anything better, a place where I can just, you know, settle down and work and sleep and eat and do the broadcasts and my paintings, you know. I'd like it to be nicer.
Lovely.
I'd like it to be nicer and better than that, but you know what? It's what I can have right now. And maybe I do that for 90 days and find a better place. So, another layer. Feel this one. It's kind of got a lot of emotional pain in it. It's time for it to transcend, you know, and be free. So, you know, give it permission to go and allow yourself to notice God there. And all that solidity and all that unconsciousness and all that pain, everything that you notice there, also notice God everywhere you look. Oh, well, I guess it's not so bad if God's here. Yeah, exactly. Because when you notice the profane and the divine in the same moment, the profane begins to change for the better. I guess that's one more. When you notice the divine and the profane at the same time within your experience of you, then the profane is inspired to become better, to become more real, more true, more realized. So notice the divine in you, in the darkest part of you. And allow that darkest part of you to awaken as whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how evil or gross or horrible. It only matters that you wake up as whatever it is that you are. Okay, that's another one. That'd be a great painting. Wake up as whatever it is that you are. Because you don't have to become something else before you can awaken. There's another one. You don't have to become something else before you can awaken. You can awaken as you are. Awaken as you are. Awaken as you are. That's a mantra. That'd be a nice painting. Awaken as you are. Awaken as you are. Man, that's a mantra for a movement. Awaken as you are. We'll make that the title of this session then. Awaken as you are. And that's something you let happen. It's not something that you figure out. It's not something that you have to understand. It's not something you read a book about. It's a command. Awaken as you are. You dove too deeply in the story of the book or the movie or the dream. Awaken as you are within the dream, within the story, within the identity of you. The divine and the profane story of the divine. All stories of the divine are profane. They didn't capture it. Ooh, how's that for a bumper sticker? All stories of the divine are profane. Because they didn't capture the truth that set the story reader free. If somebody's asleep and likes to read stories, then the story that they read of you has to somehow give them an invitation and an opportunity to awaken and be free. Within the story, within their identity, within their belief system, within their pretense, as their ego. So, here we are, all dumb and stupid, all identified and completely solid. And so solid, so damned, so stopped, so unflowing that we're miserable, right? So that's most of us. Most of us are miserable being ourselves. Wake up as you are. Doesn't matter if you're miserable or not. Being in a state of grace or bliss isn't the pathway to truth. Pathway to truth is awakening as you are, not somebody else's story. You awaken as who you are. Whatever your attachments are, fall away. Whatever your consciousness is takes a quantum leap. It opens and stays open. Continuous expansion of consciousness and awareness never stops. opening more and more and more until you contain the universe. At least that. And in truth, a whole lot more. Contain time also. Contain all dimensions also. It all happens in you. You are the support for reality. You are what makes reality possible. That's the truth of you. You are what makes reality possible. It freely supports its own free expression. But now you're also here, taking residence within the story, within a life, within an embodiment of the divine. And as the divine, you're choosing to awaken within your own, within the darkness of a embodied personality. You know, you're here and you're taking, oh, this is the one I got, huh? Wow, what a sad sack life I've had. But you know what? Was that really me? Of course not. It certainly wasn't my truth. It was in actuality, it happened, but it wasn't really real. Real enough to be traumatizing, of course, but not real enough to be freeing. It wasn't real enough to free you. It was a lie that you were bad, that you were incapable and unable, that you didn't know, that you couldn't be the truth of you here, that it wasn't allowed. But it is allowed, and your truth is the truth. And the time is when you choose to have that experience for yourself. So I guess we'll wrap this up a little bit and just say, you know, it's time for you to have a divine experience of yourself. That's your last painting.
Well, we have to thank you, Oracle. You bring a real, truly extraordinary gift to us and the world, and it is an continually unfolding, peeling off of the layers. It's deeper and deeper truth.
Yeah.
Wonderful state of blissful ecstasy.
Yeah, we're hitting some nice spaces. Yeah, and I appreciate your being here with me to do this, because this is for me too. This isn't me giving it to you. It's you're saying, okay, yeah, I'm ready, let's go. And I'm just driving the bus a little bit, you know, because I've been down this road before, but I'm still a bus driver. I'm not driving a Rolls Royce, having mastered the reality. You know, I'm the guy that's still, you know, me. And that's what we're letting go of. We're letting go of you, and we're letting go of me. And we're letting the potential that we came here to self-realize and actualize move freely so that we transform into that. And so everything about yourself you have to let change for the better. And there's so many millions of those changes. You just have to focus on everything that you are at once and allow it all to happen. You can't direct it. It's too massive a movement. You can only open and perceive it and receive it willingly. As the body, you're choosing for the body. You're choosing for the consciousness of the cells. You're saying, yeah, it's okay. It's okay for the divine to be in me. It's okay for the divine to be in me. I guess there was another one. It's okay for the divine to be in me. Oh, wow, that's moving something. It's okay for the divine to be in me. And it's okay for the divine to be in you. Yes, feel how freeing that is to allow the other person to have that experience of the divine awakening as them. How free it is for you when you allow somebody so openly to experience that it's an irresistible invitation for them to, and they do. They do choose. They do open. They do receive. And they do transform. And they transcend who and what they were into what they came here to be. The divine you and the divine me. That's why we're here. And you just let it happen. You allow yourself to transcend, to transform, to transmute, to go move from one thing to another. That allow the past to fall away, to see that first step on the stairway to heaven recede in the past as you took the second, then the third, then the fourth. Each one being moved beyond by your embrace of the next expansion, the next freer and freer expression, the lighter and lighter, finer and finer, and yet more and more powerful presence of you without limitation, without being fettered, without being damned, without being stopped or blocked or opposed. Well, that's a pretty big shift for me, but you know what? I got to say, I like how the shift is moving and how it feels.
It feels really wonderful. Right.
Well, we're at a good spot. See, when you truly express your wholeness, you feel how you can just feel one thing, that you're not all of these different chakras, everything just merged into one thing that's just a free flow.
Yes. Undefinable and
yeah, there's no all of the stories about the specifics on how you open up a chakra and clean it and all that. Well, guess what? Chakras aren't real. It's another creation. You don't need them when you open up and self-realize. It all moves into one, just your beingness, just a radiance. The structure of controlling bodies from lower consciousness, that all of that matrix of things that were created over the eons for things to operate predictably in unconsciousness. They got to go when you wake up. Because they limit you. when you self-realize, when you take responsibility. So in taking your responsibility, notice that you actually have to open at the same time. You have to continuously open until the solidities aren't solid anymore. They just all dissipated. So it's not the focus on it, it's the noticing it, and then the willingness for it to be free. And then you're continuing to open until you're not holding them in context anymore. Context of, dimensional reality, the context of a polarized interaction. No. You let go until you saw them beyond their definitions, where they flow freely and gloriously. And you notice that that's what they're here to embody. So what does it matter as they're struggling like fish climbing the fish ladder to accomplish that one purpose, how they flap their tail on any particular stretch of water, right? No, the purpose is, you're going to flop around and you're going to go through shifts and changes, but none of them matter. The only thing that matters is that you stay open. So that this flow, the flow actually begins to define you. The openness, the willingness to be free, the willingness to know, the willingness to see, the willingness to understand, the willingness to feel other people and their suffering and their brilliance, and not just focused on that as a sad reality, but focused just as much at the same time on that divine being that's capable of creating universes, so dimly peeking through that person, but you see it and you know it's there, and you say, you know what I'd rather pay attention to? That goddamn magnificent demigoddess of joy that is beginning to awaken in you, and you're gonna go for a fucking roller coaster ride, but it doesn't matter. The end result is going to be something that is so wonderful that nobody could have predicted it. Nobody expected it. Nobody really understood what it would be, for a divine celebration to actually occur. So let it begin with you. Let the divine celebration begin within your own heart, within your mind, within your body. Allow God to celebrate. Allow God, the God and the Goddess, to be one within you in celebration of the wondrous experience of divine awakening within the body. An embodied divine awakening from you. Enter here. You can have that above your door. And wouldn't it be cool if that's what occurred to everybody that saw that sign and came in anyway? Because it's a warning as much as it is an invitation, If you come in here, you can't be you anymore. You can't be the fake you, the one with the mask, the one with the fake identity, the one that you picked up here and has nothing to do with who you've been through eternity. You let this one go. You allow eternity to come in and move you, your eternity, your eternal presence, your eternal knowing, your eternal beingness. That's the truth that sets you free. The truth of you through eternity. Well, I think I probably said it enough different ways, right?
So, that was so lovely. What a wonderful, wonderful Sunday evening.
Yeah, why not?
Today, the 7th day, is also the 7th of June. Quite lovely.
7th of June, what does that mean?
That just means it's the 7th of June, 2020.
Well, I had a
And
girl,
on the
I had a
7th
girl.
day, this old story in the Bible says God rested. So
I had a girlfriend 40 years ago that I was so in love with. Not quite 40 years ago, but it's her birthday today, and so cheers to her. You know, she set a standard for me of grace and beauty and just the delightful respect for others that dumbfounded me how caring and graceful and brilliant she was, and she was beyond my ability to match on that, you know. And so, you know, what could have been went another way, and it affected me for decades, you know, when I let her go. But, you know, it's interesting. You know, what happens is people make their choices. Who they choose to be. What they choose to be real about them. What they choose to believe is real about reality, you know. So be careful what you say is true. Be careful what you say is real. Notice how limited you are, and if it's more than you want to be, then you have to drop all of that solidity. You have to feel it, you have to notice it, then you have to open up and let it go and say, it's not the truth of me. It may be contextually, but I'm not willing to be a contextual truth here, only an eternal one. I'm not willing to be a contextual truth here. There's a t-shirt for you. No context in your truth, only wholeness, a fullness, a completion. An appreciation for everyone else's truth. An appreciation so sublime that they can't hold on to that truth that you're admiring so much in them. Because that clever story that they've taken as their identity just can't contain them when they open up, you know. It just, you get to see it, you get to appreciate it for a moment, and then it dissipates away. And they're not that anymore. They're something else. Then as you appreciate that, and you go, oh yeah, beautiful, nice, wow, great for you, great for you, great for you. Then they look back at you and say, what are you talking about? This is just step 2 on the stairway to heaven. I'm going all the way up, you know. I'm not going to waste my time chatting with you. See you at the top. Right?
Yes.
So see you at the top.
Yes, indeed.
See you at the top. So we'll do a little stairway to heaven, and you're saying hey to your homies and say, I'm done here. See you at the top. Okay, well, I think I'm talked out. Unless you got any questions.
Well, I think that I'd like to make an expression of gratitude. I'm remain as always astonished by what it is, this gift that the Oracle, Mr. David Newren, has brought into my life. The domino effect that's obviously going to have on decisions and directions I make as on behalf of my order, but also on a much more significant level, one might say, as an artist, because naturally, whereas the order is just a few thousand people, the fan base is growing really exponentially this year. So it's interesting and a blessing, I think, that I'm able to awaken to these levels that are now happening, manifest. Which is interesting that the sublimation or perhaps awakening or transformation of the ego that takes place is what actually allows for receiving this communion with the divine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well done. Well done. Good one. It's you see how much you've moved already. It's beautiful.
Yes.
And since you have followers, you owe it to them to be your truth. You can't be less than that. Not the truth of the story, but the actual essence, the presence, the eternal nature. God consciousness in the temple of you. Nothing less. And then you'll be able to sing that, what was that? There's a party going on right here. A celebration. Okay, so thanks for your time. Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me be late. I had all kinds of things try to mess this up for me. I broke my computer screen twice. And so
whatever they were also trying to mess it up for me, because I'll tell you, Oracle, I feel absolutely in union with divine ecstasy right now, filled with the Holy Spirit. Wonderful state of being, amazing, amazing, amazing.
Okay, so
the cancers of anger can so easily disintegrate in the face of the awakening of the divine within.
Cool. Well, I'd appreciate it if you found somebody that would be great. That I want to do sessions every night starting now. If you referred a few people to me, that would be great.
Yeah, I will send a text. It'd be great to have you communicate with at least a couple of the people that will be directly involved on location. Whether we choose to do it at that Malibu location I showed you with the vineyard and the mansion on the vineyard, otherwise it would have to be, well, yes, let's definitely do that. What I'm saying is whether it's there or elsewhere, we're definitely going to be